Welcome to with your host, Kellie Rhymes.
Society promotes beautiful long hair. They promote that as beauty. And because society promotes that as beauty, many women out here feel like if they don't have this long, beautiful hair, they're ugly. And that is far from the truth. Oh, I see you cut your hair. And I'm like, yeah. But then she's like, but don't you want to just leave a little bit of hair? Once again, did you ask me what was going on, why I cut my hair? And so out of respect, because she was an older lady, in my mind, I wanted to say, do you know me like that? Like, you don't know me like that, right?
Yeah. I just feel like we have reached a pinnacle in society where there is a lack of respect for people that are different than you. Yeah. And I think it becomes a broader conversation that we need to have because everybody is different and we all have the right to be different.
Yes.
A lot of times when people approach us in a negative manner, it's because of a character defect or flaw that they have in their personality.
I think that us, along with the rest of the community, that we have some work to do because a lot of the questions and approaches that we get from folks who are not in the community is, I think, out of ignorance. And as baldies, I think we have the responsibility to start to educate and reach out more so that people can be aware and understand what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
So I just left the office like, look, guess I'll just be wearing this wig. Didn't even know how to buy a wig at first. Looking a hot mess. Went to the beauty supply with my 60-some-year-old cousin. And she wore a wig. And I'm like, I need help. And she like, okay. And we just trying to pick something out. It was a hot mess.
Yes, you don't think that bald women look good in a gown? Well, let me show you. Yes, we do. And we can still get glammed up. And we still look classy. And we still look beautiful.
But it was still very emotional when I first lost my hair and having to touch my head and see it in my hand and was just like, okay, this is very real.
She took my hand. She took my face on my hands and he said, honey, you are beautiful, but you really need to comb your hair. She said, I suggest you find a wig that you like and go from there. And I left her office bawling, but I also felt so good because for the first time someone told me something that actually made sense to me.
Right now, I could grow my hair back out, but I love being bald, so I don't. So I still feel those questions of, so when are you gonna grow your hair back up? Are you growing your hair back out? No, I'm not, because like Denisha said, I was born to be bald.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast. I am Kellie Rhymes. If you guys do not know me, I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach. And now I can say TV producer because we just produced the Bougie Baldie TV show, which is an extension of this podcast. I'll share more about that a little bit later. But first, let's get into today's interview because I have another wonderful guest and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, okay? So Bissan is a certified trichologist and functional medicine health coach with a strong academic foundation in the life sciences. She holds a master's degree in biotechnology and a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, which forms the scientific basics of her work in hair and scalp health. With over a decade of experience in the hair loss field, she integrates evidence-based research, functional medicine principles, and clinical trichology to identify and address the root causes of hair loss and scalp disorders. Her approach bridges science and holistic care, allowing her to create personalized, results-driven protocols that support both hair regrowth and overall health. Welcome to the Bougie Baldie Show.
Thank you. Thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's go into just get into more about you. We're going to dive right in, okay? Because
Sure.
we actually met through LinkedIn. I saw your work and I reached out to you like, "Hey, I would love for you to come on and, talk a little bit." And as we talked in our first meeting, you shared more about your experience behind scalp micropigmentation. Now, for everybody who's been listening and watching the Bougie Baldie show or just the podcast, you guys know that I have micropigmentation, and that is one of the things that helped me gain my confidence to live in this world as a bald woman and go outside every single day looking the way I look. It gave me that
Look
boost.
fantastic. You look fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to make sure we brought a specialist on the show to talk to everybody because people always have questions, right? So I want, to make sure we are able to address all of your inquiries and things like that here on the podcast. Now, I know that you are recognized as a expert in scalp micropigmentation, but you have two thriving businesses. Now, one is called Hair and Wellness Again, and the other one is the Hair Wire. So, can you take us back to the beginning of your journey and tell us what drew you to specialize in the field of trichology and the scalp micropigmentation? Like, what was the behind the scenes journey
Yeah.
of all of that?
Actually, it's a very, very interesting story how things happen. So a long time ago, I used to work at Stanford University after I graduated from my master's degree. I worked at Stanford University as a research assistant, and I was in the neurology department. Has
Mhm,
nothing to do with hair. Actually, has a lot to do with hair. I want to say that at the end. But at that point, I was working as a research assistant, and my postdoc was doing research on Alzheimer's and strokes, and I was doing all the lab work inside. I mean, the mice room, taking care of the mice and knock out the mice and do all of the scientific research
mhm,
uh, on living mice in a way. That's a lot of details, but in a way that at that point, they started using PRP from fat tissues. Okay.
mhm,
They, of course, the centrifuge for the PRP, for our audience who doesn't know, PRP is platelet-rich plasma, where you take the blood from the patients right now, and they centrifuge it, and then they take the platelets portion of it, inject it back to the hair to regrow hair. That's
mhm,
what PRP is right now. At that time, we or the scientific lab I used to work with, they wanted the PRP or the plasma from fat tissues. And they used to centrifuge it in a big centrifuges, like a whole room centrifuge. So they will extract these, they call it the elixir of life. And they gave it to me to inject it to the mice and see the behavioral changes with the drugs we used to work with. However,
okay.
when I was doing all these experiments on the behavior of the mice, we started seeing more hair growth. Like
Mm,
the mice who had PRP injected has more hair, and of course with other different factors. The factors that were we researching, the side effect was like, oh, these mice has more hair. So it was very interesting to me. It's like, wow, that is fascinating. Fast forward, we moved, my family and I, we moved to Dubai, and in
mhm,
Dubai there was no research. So I met this famous hair transplant surgeon on the go. I met him in a hospital, and he asked me, "Would you like to come and work with me?" I was like, "Sure." The only thing that I know about hair is the PRP we injected these mice grew hair more. And he's like, that's good enough for me. So I learned the hair transplant surgeries, the medical aspect of hair transplant, all the medical aspect of the hair loss or the hair regrowth industry, let's say that. So I
okay.
learned about all the pharmaceuticals, all the hair surgeries, and all of that. So when it was time for me to come back to the States, I worked in another that was when SMP started to rise up. That was around 2015.
Mhm,
I worked with another hair transplant surgeon in California. Now, when I was in Dubai, Dubai is like very like innovative in everything. I
right.
met a person who had this weird machine that he was introducing us to, and he's saying that we're gonna do scalp micropigmentation. At that time, I don't think anybody knew what SMP is.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at this huge, it was a huge machine. And then I learned the concept of SMP. It was so primitive, of course. It's nothing what it looks like today.
Mm-hmm.
And when I
Okay.
came to California to work with another hair surgeon, I introduced her to this SMP thing. And she's like, yeah, I want to add it to my practice. How we're going to do that? So I went to London and I get certified as a scalp micropigmentation technician.
Okay.
And I worked as a scalp micropigmentation technician in a hair transplant setting for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
During these 5 years, I have a scientific background. I start asking questions. I had a lot of clients with scalp disorders that they are coming to, for example, to come to cover up their psoriasis, like inactive psoriasis patch. It's like that is not right. These patients will come to cover their psoriasis, inactive psoriasis patches, or
Okay.
like I needed to do SMP on scars or burn scars or surgery, like plastic surgery scars, all of that. So from my scientific background, I realized that we need to learn more about the scalp health, the scalp microbiome, why these pigments are holding with this client more than not holding with this client. So they're the oiliness factor, the scalp elasticity factor, all these factors. And
Mm-hmm.
during my work with the hair transplant surgeon, um, like I learned about all the medical hair loss interventions, but also I was curious how we can also integrate other lifestyle factors to save hair loss in a way.
Okay.
So all these questions led me to learn trichology. And
So,
I went to Italy and I got certified as a trichologist, which is the science of hair and scalp disorders.
mm-hmm.
And then I worked as a trichologist I actually was teaching trichology. And it's just I'm trying to make it short. While I was teaching at trichology, also I realized that hair loss is not only external, it's also internal.
Right.
So I went ahead and studied functional medicine as a health coach. So in a way that combining functional medicine modalities, making your body healthy. So I learned that combining internal protocols with external protocols will help with the hair loss journey for my clients. On
Mm-hmm.
and now SMP for me is the cherry on top. So
Okay.
we will fix basically all the internal factors, make sure your scalp is healthy, make sure the scalp microbiome can take the pigmentation nicely and precisely. Then if we needed a little bit of touch up where giving you like even a shaved head look or a density look, we can do that with scalp micropigmentation.
Okay. So that is interesting because I'm just listening to your journey, and it's just interesting how you were kind of really led to this work. Things are just, you met one person who taught you one thing, you met another person, and it's kind of like you just went down this whole pathway of getting all the pieces together so that you can become who you are today, right? Now, I know we just talked about your two different businesses, and I know you're running them at the same time simultaneously, right? But I want the listeners to know the difference between the two businesses. So, can you explain the difference between hair and wellness again and your other business called The Hair Wire? What is the difference between the two and what makes them so unique?
Yep. So my personal business, my company is Hair and Wellness by Bissan or Hair and Wellness again. This is where I see clients under my company. I do virtual consultations, in-person consultations here in Jacksonville. And we go through all like lifestyle factors as a functional medicine health coach. I go through all the scalp analysis or scalp modalities to make sure their scalp is healthy and so forth. And this is where I am a practicing trichologist.
Okay.
And of course, and an SMP practitioner also comes under my hair and wellness again. Um, Now, my other business is the Hair Wire. The Hair Wire is, I co founded the Hair Wire with my two colleagues, Sergio and Carrie. We the hair wire, basically, our vision for the hair wire is for education. It
Okay.
is the hub for trichologists. So when we three are trichologists, and we have been in the trichology business for a long time, but our we as a like our just as a trichologist, we saw that there is a need for all of us to come together under one roof to talk about niches, our niches. Because, for example, my niche is functional medicine and scalp micropigmentation, right? Another trichologist niche is with deal with weaves and extensions.
Right.
Another trichologist niche is dealing with colors and all of that. So, but we all do have questions. Like now, you created this podcast for your audience to ask questions. Now, we created the hair wire for trichologists and cosmetologists or any hair loss enthusiast or even a client. If they want to ask questions, they will go to the hair wire and either listen to our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel called the hair wire.
Hmm.
We go live every Monday, and we try to do like kind of um, in a way like an educational section, let's say that, and
Okay.
see if anybody will have any question from the audience. Will address that. Also, in the hair wire, we do have we run actually a Facebook support group. It's called Telogen Effluvium Support Group that have 12,000 people. And on a daily basis, we have a lot of questions, and we are three of us running that. So having all these questions, it's like not feasible for us to sit down and just answer one at a time. It's just
Right.
unfeasible.
Right.
So on our weekly YouTube channel, we go ahead and address all these questions. This is one part of the hair wire where we are going live on YouTube and doing the education part for um, the general public. But we have, as I mentioned, for trichologists or cosmetologists, we have a school. It's called
Hmm.
the Faculty of Trichology, where any cosmetologist, any SMP practitioner want to advance their career, or any cosmetologist that want to learn about trichology, they can go to the Hairwire or the Faculty of Trichology. They can be a member over there. They can take courses over there. And me personally, I teach a course called Functional Trichology, about where I put together the functional medicine with the trichology part. I
Okay.
teach also scalp micropigmentation. So it's basically we're trying to make a hub to bring all people together, all in under one roof. And
Oh.
let me say that before I hand you the mic. Like for you, if you want to advertise for your podcast, you go to the Hairwire, so you will be visible for other people.
Hmm.
Like since there's a lot of people who are underneath this umbrella.
Hmm.
So in a way that like for example, for you, somebody want there's a woman who lost all her hair and she's looking for options. She can go to you and ask you questions, right? You will be
Right.
better answering these questions than me, because it's also always it's a personal experience. You do
Definitely.
have the personal experience, so you will serve her more than me telling her, well, I saw Kellie and she did SMP and she looked great.
Hmm.
Hearing it from you, how did you decide to go to SMP? What was your journey looks like? What things that you think about right now will help way more than me. It's like, oh, look at Kelly's picture. It's great. See what I'm saying?
Right. Yes, yes, definitely. I get that part because to your point, that whole emotional piece of the hair loss is a big thing that really is what I pretty much focus on, because you have to, right? Of course, getting SMP or the hair transplants or seeing a trichologist, those are could be solutions, but you
Solutions.
still have to deal with that internal piece, right?
100%. If you
Yes.
don't believe in something from the inside, it's not gonna work.
Exactly, exactly. Now, let's dive into the basics for our listeners who might be hearing about scalp micropigmentation for the first time. All right. So, in simple terms, what exactly is SMP or scalp micropigmentation, and how does it differ from traditional tattooing or other hair loss solutions?
So SMP, I always, when people ask me with like one sentence, it's an instant fix for a problem. This problem can be a density problem, or this problem can be a balding problem, right? So, for example, SMP, basically what SMP is when we use a tattoo machine, but we don't use tattoo needles. The needles that we use are completely different than what a tattooist will have. The tattoo gun is just the machine that facilitates our work, right? So what we are trying to do, we are trying to mimic the hair follicles in between your existing hair follicles for density, or creating a new hairline or a profile or a full head like yourself, where we create the shaved head look. Okay, so there's two parts of it that's very important. First of all, the needle. The needle is very important because the needle actually it is a three-pointed needle. It creates the 3D illusion of a hair follicle. Number one. Number two is the pigment. The pigment, there's so many pigments on the market, but the technician or the artist responsibility is to find the perfect pigment for your skin type, again, for your skin type, and the perfect shade, the color for your scalp, which is gonna make you look as if you have hair.
Right.
And the third important part is the technician or the artist technique. Because we see horrible problems on the SMP world where tattooists or not tattooists will just like, oh, I can do this. And then they go ahead and create like deeper dots or deeper entry into the dermis. The application of the SMP is on the epidermis only. The minute it goes to the dermis, the SMP will be pouched within months. Let me explain that. This is very, very important. We saw, probably, guys, you saw a lot on TV where a person had an SMP on it, like a shaved head, and then 6 months down the road, the whole thing is a pouch of ink, like a black ink, as if somebody painted his scalp. This is when the SMP technician or artist was not trained properly. They don't have the artistry of the technique, how they place each dot. Like each dot has to be placed with the same exact pattern of your existing hair follicles. And if you don't have existing hair follicles, they have to create a pattern that looks good on you.
Yes.
So the application of the SMP is very, very important. And this is a hand technique. It's a hand technique. It's the same gun, which is the tattoo machine. When I decide on the needle, and the size of the needle, of course, is different between the hairline, between the crown, between the back. It's all different between a person and a person, because your scalp thickness and elasticity changes between one person and a person, and between one area and one area, right?
Okay.
So the technique has to be proper. Like, where do you put the pigment, and how deep that pigment on that particular area has to be.
Got it.
And one more thing before we jump into another thing, how to draw the hairline. The hairline and the sides are an art. Only God can do perfect hairline.
Right.
Only God can do that, but we will try to mimic as much as we humanly can possibly do to make your hairline as natural as it could be.
Okay.
You see?
Now,
So all these techniques has to be all learned and trained with, like, for the SMP practitioner.
yeah, and I know for myself, when I got mine's done, I actually showed the artist like what I wanted my hairline to look like. So he drew it on me first. We made sure it looked nice, it looked good. He asked me, like, you, to your point, the color, what color I wanted for the pigmentation. And it was just a very easy experience. He laid it out for me and did exactly what you said. So I'm happy that I did have a great artist.
You are lucky. You are lucky. You founded a great artist. There's many, many great artists. Many.
Yes, yes.
It's
And I
just
did
I
do
wanna
my research.
right. It's just I want to highlight that this is important. So if you are considering an SMP job, it's very, very, very important that you research your artist because
Yes.
you're gonna live with this look for a couple of years of your life.
And that's what I tell people, just like a regular tattoo on your body, you always go look at the artist and see what work they've done and how it looks because you don't want something permanently on you that you don't want,
100%.
right? So same exact thing. Now, I know we talked about I got my whole entire head done, but to your point as well, you mentioned density. So people, I just want to make sure you guys know in the audience that you don't have to get it on your whole head. If you just have a thin spot, you may just want to fill in that spot to increase that density or the appearance of the density. If you have a scar, maybe from a hair transplant or something like that, that's what SMP works for as well. So there are a variety of reasons why you would use it. But like I said, I just did my entire head because I had so much hair loss that it was no point of me just doing little patches, and I didn't know if something else was going to come out, and then I would have bald spots. So I was just like, let's just do the entire head to make it nice and even, and we're done.
Yeah. Let me explain something, if I may, about the density work. So now there's a lot of women who has, and men, who has like thinning on the top, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And SMP is perfect solution when we put, like, we cover, basically, we are shading the scalp this way. We shade the scalp so we decrease the contrast between the scalp and the hair, so we don't see a lot of the thinning area. That's what SMP is for, right? So when you look at my thin spot, you feel it is full just by look. It's a visual. You feel it's full, right? However, we need to make sure that that person, the SMP technician or artist, they need to make sure that that person doesn't have further hair loss, right?
Yes.
Because what if I go ahead and SMP this area, and then this person, his hairline, especially males, hairlines are receding? Then what we're going to end up with? We're going to end up with not a normal look.
Right.
So first of all, we stabilize the hair loss either for men or women. And as I said in my beginning, the SMP is your cherry on the top.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for explaining that. Now, I know SMP is now becoming more and more popular as people learn about it. We're seeing more advertisements and different things like that. But there may be some confusion about who it's actually for. And you just mentioned this. A lot of times when we think about hair loss solutions, we think men, right? Because that's just what the forefront of our mind. When we see commercials, we normally don't see women with hair loss in these commercials. We normally see the men. So tell everyone that who is it for? Can children get it? Can women get, I mean, just like, which we know women can get it because I got it, but can you talk a little bit more about like who should be doing SMP?
Very great question. Let me break it down for you one by one. So, for example, if a guy, a male, 18 years old comes to me, he start to be thinning, because guys usually, if they start thinning at 18 or 20, means they are looking at androgenetic alopecia, which is a genetic hair loss, right? If a guy comes to me at 18 or 20 or 25 even, telling me, Bissan, I wanna add density to my thinning area, I will say no. Because this guy has androgenetic alopecia, means this is gonna continue to further back, like more and more.
Right.
Until his hair loss is stabilized, then I can do SMP. And I prefer to do SMP with men. Let's talk about men first. Men who has androgenetic alopecia when they are on their 30s or 40s. When they stabilize their hair and there is no more androgenetic alopecia, if they are taking some like finasteride or something that will manage the hair loss, let's say that. Okay. So I prefer to work SMP in particular with older guys where I know their androgenetic alopecia is stable.
Okay.
Now for women usually we lose our hair for two reasons: hormonal reasons, right? Or like let us say COVID, let us say, postpartum, GLP-1, women on Ozempic now are losing their hair in bunches.
Wow, really?
It's called now the GLP-1 hair loss. Remember
Okay.
when we had COVID hair loss?
Yes.
We had to add a new category in trichology courses that is COVID hair loss. Now we are adding something called GLP-1 hair loss, and it is
Mm,
like women. The side effect of one of the main side effects of GLP-1 is hair loss.
okay.
So
Wow.
when women are going through all these changes, I will never do an SMP on them
Hmm.
because we don't know how further the hair loss will be.
Right.
Until we stabilize the hair loss, then we can do the SMP. The SMP on children is not a good idea under 18, not at all.
Okay.
Unless the child has, let us say, inactive scarring alopecia for a long, long time.
Okay.
So let me say it in a little bit more like simpler terms. SMP is good for people who have inactive bald patches, like totally inactive, like scarring alopecia that is not active for the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or like guys who already lost, like a Norwood 6, who already lost all the above, then they just want to shave the back and continue the shaved head look.
Okay.
Or people with scars from hair transplant surgeries, or people with scars from plastic surgeries, because we can SMP the scars. Bottom line, SMP is good when a person knows that this is how their look is going to be for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
And they have
So,
to make the decision. I am going to be shaved head for the rest of my life. Then they will do the SMP.
and I'm glad you explained that because I was thinking like for people who have autoimmune diseases, right? Where they have, let's just say alopecia areata, where it may grow back and then it'll fall back out, may grow back, fall back out. So in those cases, they are not good candidates because it continues to grow and come back out. Okay. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if it if it they do it when it's a bald spot and then it grows back, then it just fills in with the density and then it shouldn't be a big deal. But no, that is not the case.
No, let me say that why. Because when you SMP, the SMP is micro injuries, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
put pigment in an active site, it exaggerates the problem.
Okay.
Then probably with this alopecia areata person, the hair will not come back after SMP because I already um, damaged the connective tissues in
Okay.
that patch. I
Yeah.
do SMP and only if, and 5 lines under only and only if the area is inactive. Means that will never hair coming back from there. Means that all the hair follicles are dead,
Yes.
or
Okay.
they are so weak, they are, even when they produce hair, they're not going to produce enough hair for the past 5 years, let's say that. Then
Okay.
we decide, okay, we can SMP this person.
All right. Yeah. That makes sense. Wait a minute, my camera keeps going out. I don't know why. Okay. I'm glad I asked that question because I know somebody else out there would have had the same type of question, thinking the same thing. So thank you for clarifying that.
Of
Um,
course.
Now let's talk about the aftercare. So now someone invests in scalp micropigmentation. What does the aftercare look like? What can maybe clients expect after the first few weeks or days, even maybe a few years down the line? Like, do they have to touch it up? Can you talk a little bit about that aftercare
Sure.
process?
So right after the client will have a little bit of redness all over where the SMP was done, and that is normal. It will subsidize in within 24 hours, 48 hours maximum. But
Okay.
for the next 48 hours, no, I would tell my clients, don't wash your hair, just keep it as is. I clean it before they move, before they leave to the house, but I don't want them to go and shower like in washing with shampoo and all of that, the area. I want the pigment to settle and the injuries to heal, so everything will be nice and good.
Okay.
And also for the next 2 weeks, no saunas, no vigorous workouts, no going to the beach, no going to chlorinated pool. We don't want anything to come and mess up with the work, basically, right? Make
Okay.
sure that the work is nice and healed and sealed and everything. Plus, we
Yes.
don't want any infections as well. Now, down the line, a lot of people, especially shaved head, since shaved head it's very exposed to the sun, some of the areas can fade faster than areas. So I usually touch up my clients every 2 years, every 5 years. I have a client who flew from California to Florida, where I live right now. I did his SMP 7 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
he wanted me to touch it up. So it lasted him 7 years. Now, how long it's gonna last you, it depends on what skin condition you have. Oily skin will fade it faster. Dry skin will not fade it faster. How much you go to the beach, a chlorinated pool, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, generally speaking, it's good to go and touch it up every 2 years. Make sure that your artist is looking at all the dots, making sure they're all equal, they're all nice and good, or maximum 5 years. 7 years is a little bit of a stretch in a way,
Okay.
but it
All
can be
right.
managed. Like the guy was happy for 7 years and we managed it.
Yeah, and I can say, and I know I need to get mine's probably touched up. It's been, I think I got mine's in 2017 or no, 2018.
Wow.
And I have not gotten it touched up. I was going to get it touched up. Then the pandemic hit. And
Yeah,
I just never got back around to even doing that because I feel like it looks fine for me right
it
now.
looks
But
so
I
good. It
know
looks so good.
Thank you, but I know I know it's time for me to probably go at least the top of my head and check it and see,
Correct.
if I need some spots touched up because I know, of course, it's just the sun in general. You
Right.
walk around, even if you're not in it heavily, and I do promote wearing hats when
Yes,
you're in the
100%.
sun.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but still, there's going to be some type of sun damage
100%.
and fading and things like that.
Yep.
So, okay, so we know that scalp micropigmentation is semi-permanent, as we just talked about, because we said you have to go touch it up. So let's talk about how to choose the right artist. So what are
Very
some,
important.
yes. So what are some specific things a person should look for, or some specific questions they should ask someone who specializes in SMP so that they know they are working with someone who is the best person, or the best, has the credentials, I should say, to be
Correct.
working on their scalps?
So first of all, where they got certified from. Because nowadays, since SMP is a new industry and everybody is jumping on the wheel, there's a lot of SMP practitioners who will learn SMP, let us say, for 6 months and they start teaching it.
Okay.
So 6 months is not enough experience for a person to teach SMP. We need
Mm-hmm.
like years of experience to start teaching something, not only SMP, anything. You need experience in that. So first of all, I'll ask a practitioner, where did you graduate from? Where is your certificate from? If he tells me like somebody else taught me, I would say no. There
Okay.
is specific schools for that. It's called, like, one of the biggest school where I actually went trained is called Finishing Touches in London.
Mm-hmm.
There is also a couple of schools. In New York. There's a school in New York where the leader is. It's called Scalp Micro USA. There is another school here down in Florida in Boca Raton. There is specific schools that the artist himself who is teaching you has been in the industry for minimum 10 years.
Okay.
Because 10 years ago, this is when SMP started to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
If the person's experience is a year, 6 months, 2 years, I wouldn't go there. I want to be trained from a person who's seen it all, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is make sure, of course, they do have their license. And because the license, which is, we go under a tattoo license. Because
Okay.
whenever you have a tattoo license, they teach you and you are obligated to have a course called blood pathogen course, where you make sure your needles are clean, you are not cross-contaminating between clients, you are not dipping twice in your ink, like like there's a whole protocol. Make sure that your machines are clean, your environments are clean, because if any of this not clean, a person can have an infection on their scalp. And infection sometimes is not going to go easy if the person's, like, let us say they have an autoimmune disease. So you don't want to do that. Make sure that they are licensed and insured and all of that. And also make sure you have a personal connection with your artist. If you don't like the person working on you, you're not, if your style and life don't match, you're not going to like your SMP, right?
Right. Right.
And one more thing also, look at pictures, look at reviews and pictures of his work or her work. Of course, everybody is different, but if you like what you see in other people, most likely you're going to like what he's going to do for you.
Okay, yes, that's definitely true. I looked at so many pictures, men, women, all kind of skin tones, just because I wanted to make sure my artist looks like
And
good
yes,
at what he did.
pictures working with your skin tone. That's
Yeah.
important. Not like a person like he's specializing in one skin tone and then you're a different skin tone. Because the pigment choice is very important. The person the S&P practitioner has to know how to dilute the pigment that goes well with your skin tone.
Right, right. Now, going back to the education part, for the certification, how long does the certification usually take?
Not long. Usually it takes like most of SMP schools there is an online basically theoretical thing to learn.
Okay.
So that's you can do online for it depends on like probably 3 months, 6 months, depending on how quick you want to learn. But usually you need to know the basics of trichology in a way. What are the skin layers? What are like what are the skin tones, what are the skin structures and all of that. So when you place your needle, you know where you're placing it, like some kind of biology course to prepare you for the actual treatment. And the actual training, like in-person, it should be in-person training as well. Nobody
Right.
can teach you a technique. Yeah, the scientific part can be online, that's fine, but the technique itself should be in person. So it could be 3 days to a week, depending on each school. Because
Okay.
the first day you will see your teacher doing the SMP on a person, but also for 2 or 3 days, you need to do SMP on like fake skin. We trained on watermelon. We trained on not watermelon, the yellow
Cantaloupe or
cantaloupe, thank you, not watermelon. Yeah, the yellow one. You can't see on watermelon. We trained on fake skin. We trained on goat skin. We trained, and then at the last day we trained on an actual client who is willing to let other students train on him. And that student, the new practitioner, should be like your teacher should be looking at you and giving you direction, because I can tell you from now till tomorrow your technique should be this way, but if you didn't practice it in front of me and I was supervising you, you're not going to get it right.
right.
Theory is totally different than actual work. So at least if somebody is doing in clinical for 3 consecutive days where your teacher is looking at you the whole time, that's a good one.
Okay, so even when you have your 3 days in person, I know that people still need someone to probably look
Oh,
over their artist
100%.
after.
So after I graduated, they would not give me my certificate until I gave them 5 successful cases.
Okay, there we that so you had to work with another
5.
okay, so you had to do 5 clients.
5 clients, full from A to Z. SMP comes onto sessions, right? Couple of
Mhm.
sessions, or 3 or 4
Yes.
sometimes. They will not give me my certificate, and that's what is important until I finish 5 successful, good-looking cases.
Good. Okay. I
Yeah,
think that is very important because I'm like, I
100%.
know afterwards you still need some
Yeah,
more practice
100%.
and
No,
somebody to watch over you while you're doing that.
no.
So yes, that's
Like the
very
3 days is where the teacher is teaching you the technique, but
hmm
then you have to go ahead and do it on your own, practice it on your own. You want to go back home and practice on a cantaloupe and practice on fake skin until you get it, that's fine. But until you complete 5 successful, full, good looking SMP clients, 5 different clients, then this is when you are a good, this is when you are certified.
Okay.
And of course, the more and more people you do, the more and more qualified you will be.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you for that.
Right.
Now, let's go beyond a little bit of the SMP procedures because you do provide other services in your business, right?
Yes.
So you're training other technicians and providing consultations, offering complementary treatments that work alongside with micropigmentation. So what are those treatments? What else would you combine with the micropigmentation?
Sure. So whenever let us take a case of a woman with GLP-1 because this is the big thing now, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women are going through the Ozempic or Manjaro and all of these GLP-1 to lose weight. However, whenever these women are going through these treatments, of course, you know that the digestive system will slow down. This is what this GLP-1 medication does. So the person will not eat as much, so they eventually lose more weight. That's what the process is. So first of all, I will sit down with them and make sure. My first goal is to make sure their health internally is optimized. First thing, we'll talk about their GI system. Make sure that they are taking digestive enzymes, probiotics. They're going to the bathroom every day. They're eating enough protein. They are being hydrated. I look at their blood work, make sure that they don't have iron deficiency, B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency. I look at their thyroid panel, make sure that they don't have any hypo or hyperactivity, and if so, we need to work on that. So when we optimize the internal protocol, I call it, it's an internal protocol, and I do the internal protocol personalized. Everybody is different. We talk about diet, we talk about sleep, we talk about going to the bathroom every day. It's very important. Detoxification. We talked about how many times, how like the movement. Do they work out? Do they go for a walk? The sunshine. We talk about their stress level. We talk about their emotional state as well. All of that when we optimize the internal protocol. Second, I make sure that the scalp microbiome is healthy. So the external protocol will be making sure the scalp microbiome is balanced, the pH is balanced, make sure that there's no any other scalp disorders like seborrheic dermatitis and so forth. Make sure that, and if they have seborrheic dermatitis, I have to treat that area first. If they have psoriasis, I have to treat that first.
Okay.
And then when we stabilize the scalp and make sure all the hair, the scalp is good and healthy, then I will work with them to stimulate their hair follicles to bring the hair back. Because whenever people are on GLP-1, that's not a scarring alopecia case. That's not a permanent hair loss. That
Good.
is actually a hair loss that you can reverse, like postpartum hair loss you can reverse. COVID hair loss you can reverse. There's called telogen effluvium. So we can reverse these things. So I will do stimulation for next 6 months to make sure that every follicle is good and healthy and everything is back. When everything is back and normal and stable, then if I need to do SMP a little bit here just to give her the boost and the confidence, oh, okay, I need it to be really nice and thick, then we can do that. It's the cherry on the top. But let us talk about a person with scarring alopecia, okay? There's a lot of clients, especially in the Black community, we see a lot of CCA cases, which is secretional alopecia. And of course, this is for another episode to talk about why we see a lot of African American people with a lot of scarring alopecia. There's a lot of reasons for that, but for our purpose today. So when I work with a woman, I will make sure their internal protocol is good, like we said. Targeted internal protocol. Make sure the pH is good. External protocol is done. Now, a lot of clients with scarring alopecia, that's it for them. That's the maximum we can do.
Right.
And there's still patches, either thin patches or probably bold patches. This is when we say, okay, we will use the scalp micropigmentation to either make the thin patches look thicker, or
Mm-hmm.
we can go the route you went through. Let's shave the head and go forward with the full shaved head SMP.
Right.
So it depends on who is doing what is the cases.
Okay.
And generally speaking, for men, it's the same thing. When we have a man with androgenetic alopecia, we do the SMP when they are stable, when they are not losing hair anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have a person with lupus. I treated a person with lupus who's having a guy with lupus who have lost a lot of his hair. I didn't
Okay.
do SMP. First, lupus, when we addressed all his issues, his hair looks way better. And he said, I'm happy. I don't want to do SMP. Good.
Okay.
So it depends on it's very, very, very personalized.
Okay. Yes. All right. Because, I mean, as everyone know, I have CCCA, so that
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why I'm like, I know my hair is not coming back. My follicles
Mhm.
are gone, so that's
Mhm.
why I was
Then
able to move forward.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
And I
case is 100%. Yeah.
exactly. Now let's talk about what is coming up for you. What is on the horizon for your business in the future? Any upcoming events, any upcoming workshops, or
Sure.
anything that you want to
Yeah.
share with the audience that you
Yeah.
would like for them to support?
So now we are in the process of launching Faculty of Trichology, where myself, I'm teaching a class called Functional Trichology, where I'm going to teach the practitioner to incorporate food, supplements, lifestyle factors into their hair loss protocols.
Okay.
So internal factors are I believe internal factors is 50% of the solution. And then
Mm-hmm.
external factors, of course, making sure all the scalp disorders are taken care of. So we are now in the process of launching the Faculty of Trichology, and we are every Monday on the Hair Wire we go live, and I would love to I'd love you invite you to our Hair Wire so you can come to our episodes and talk to our people about your experience with SMP
Yes.
and all of that. And for my personal business, I am doing now cellular regenerative boxes for all my virtual consultations
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people who reach out for me for hair loss and they don't live here. So I came up with this idea that I can do your internal protocol and send you a box full of supplements that are good for you. It's called targeted supplementation. After, of course, I work with you on your diet and movement and all of that.
Mhm.
And let me say something about targeted supplementation. Supplements are not good on the long run.
Okay.
So people who are going on, yeah, I'm gonna take this hair pill for the rest of my life. That's not good. That is taxing on your liver. After all, supplements are not natural food. Supplements, we don't see them on trays, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are processed food. So we take them for a reason. Like, let me say that quickly. For example, you, Kelly, gave me your blood work, and I found that your vitamin D levels is 40 nanograms per deciliter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I want to reverse your hair loss, I want your vitamin D to be 70.
Okay.
So I will give you a vitamin D supplement for the next 3 months. When it is 70, that's it, we're done. You don't be on vitamin D for the rest of your life.
Got it. Okay.
Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamins, and overdose of vitamin D can be toxic.
Okay.
Actually, overdose of vitamin A can actually cause directly hair loss.
Mm.
So we need to know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I look at your blood work and I give you, okay, Kelly, I need you to take this and this and this, depending on what your blood work told me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for 3 months only. And I want you to change your diet, and I want you to eat more salmon, and I want you to go on the sun more often, and I want you to exercise for detoxification. And then in 3 months, I want you to repeat the blood work and we see where you're at.
Okay.
And where you at, then we will talk about it again. But taking supplements for the rest of your life is your liver is not going to be happy within 10 years. This is what liver failure this is what causes liver failure.
Got it. Okay.
So it's called targeted supplementation. So when I have a client from out of state, I'll ask for blood work and I will personalize a diet for them depending on what the problem is. And then I give them the supplements that are for the next 3 months only. Then I give them the scalp protocol to do that at home, either daily or once a week, depending on what scalp condition they have.
Okay.
And this box, I'm calling it the cellular regeneration box. I can send it to my clients, and then we check every week to make sure that you're doing the treatment properly by yourself, because it's on your own. You're doing it in your shower, basically.
Okay.
And then make sure that you're following up with all the internal protocol tips, and hopefully in 3 months we have good results.
Okay. All right. So tell everybody where they can find this information if they want to order the box. Tell them your links and how they can reach out to you and get more information.
So just go to hairandwellnessagain.com, just one word, hairandwellnessagain, one word.com. This is my website. You can find all the information there. And my Instagram is also Hair and Wellness Again. My Facebook is Hair and Wellness by Bissan. So my LinkedIn is Bissan Debsi. So you can find me everywhere you have any questions. And I do offer free discovery calls. You can book a 15-minute call with me because as we said, we need to connect first. If you don't connect with me, we're not going to work together properly. So book your 15 minutes free discovery call. Tell me what is your problem, and I will see, okay, probably we can do this and this and this, and then we can move forward or not.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you guys have that information. I'll also include her links and everything in the show notes of this podcast. And I would definitely love to be on your show to talk about my S&P experience. Yes,
I
because
will
I
reach
promote
out for
it.
you 100%. I'll reach out for you and we will host you within a couple of weeks on our show.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for all of the work you're doing in the hair loss world, trichology, the education part, the S&P, like all of the things that you're doing, because it is definitely helpful and beneficial to everyone out here who are experiencing hair loss, and maybe you looking for a solution to help boost their confidence, right? That's what that S&P is for, that cherry on the top, right?
Correct. I love that. The cherry on the top. 100%.
The cherry on the top. I love it as well. So thank you again. And for those of you guys who are out here watching this episode, make sure you go check out the Bougie Baldie Show. The Bougie Baldie Show is, again, an extension of this podcast where we feature businesses that have been created based off of maybe the owner's own hair loss journey, and they wanted to provide some type of service or product to help other people. And we also have a panel on there of women who are just like myself, who've decided to just shave their hair off, and they've had hair loss for a variety of reasons. And we are on there talking about our real experiences, our real journeys, offering advice, and really sharing good information to people out there who may need it. You will not feel alone. If you are experiencing hair loss as a woman and you hear some of our stories, you will know that you are not alone. And that is the purpose of the show as well. So make sure you go out to zandratv.com and look under the lifestyle section, and you'll find the Bougie Baldie Show. Now, if you are a business and you have a product or service that does support people with hair loss, we want you as well as a sponsor for the show. So make sure you go to my website at limitlessmindsetcoach.com and book a call with me, and let's talk about you potentially being a sponsor for the show, so that your brand can be put out there and associated with hair loss, and so that other women and people who are experiencing hair loss can see your product or service and go and patronize your business. So that is all we have for today on the Bougie Baldie Podcast. I thank you guys for listening, and we will be back to you next time with another episode. Bye. Thank you for listening and watching the Bougie Baldie Podcast. I appreciate you as an audience member. Now, make sure you go and check out the Bougie Baldie TV show. You can watch it from any device, any smart device. All you have to do is go to zandratv.com and you will be able to pull up my show. It is under the lifestyle section on the menu if you don't see it on the front page. So make sure you go check it out. And if you did not get it, it's zandratv.com. go ahead and click on the link in my show notes if you want to make it easier for yourself, and it'll take you directly there. I will speak to you on the next episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe